Belzec extermination camp is located in southeast Poland near the border with Ukraine. Belzec is approximately a 3.5-hour drive from Krakow and approximately a 4-hour drive from Warsaw. In terms of numbers, Belzec is considered the third deadliest camp. However, some suggest that in terms of efficiency, it is considered the most lethal camp, as only 2 people escaped and lived to tell about it. In this aerial view, you can see the current memorial and museum site. The first of the Operation Reinhardt extermination camps. Construction began on Belzec in November 1941. The camp was in use from March through December 1942. The entrance to the memorial site is marked by the orange star. The memorial includes a long, straight passageway representing the tube. This is marked with the yellow arrow. The museum is located along here. This is a map on display at Belzec showing the 1942 layout of the camp. You can see along the bottom where the trains would pull in. From the ramp, the Jews would be herded to the undressing barrack, labeled 8, where the barbers would also cut the women's hair. Oftentimes, those who were sick or elderly were led to a separate area called the lazaret, represented by number 29. Here, the victims were led to the edge of a deep pit and were shot in the back of the head or neck. The Nazis were all about efficiency, and they did not want the sick or elderly slowing down the process of quickly getting people to the gas chamber. You have to keep in mind, the more rushed the Nazis could make the Jews feel, the less likely they would be to resist or question what was going on. Any belongings, such as suitcases, were sorted in the warehouse, labeled 6. Men were separated from women and children and hurried down the tube to the gas chamber, often being beaten or whipped along the way. At Belzec, engines produced carbon monoxide, which was pumped into the gas chambers. After about 20 minutes of gassing, the corpses were removed. At maximum, approximately 4,000 people could be gassed at a time in the 6-room gas chamber. After the men were exterminated, then women and children were herded down the tube. The Nazis discovered a design flaw with the tube at Belzec. The tube was essentially a straight line, which allowed people to see what awaited them. When Sobibor and Treblinka were built, this flaw was corrected by adding a 90-degree turn near the end of the tube so that the gas chamber was not visible until after the turn was made. This is a view approaching the entrance to Belzec. You enter the parking lot through the first gate. The entrance to the memorial can be seen straight ahead. This is on the cement wall as you enter the campsite. It reads, "This is the site of the murder of about 500,000 victims of the Belzec death camp, established for the purpose of killing the Jews of Europe, whose lives were brutally taken between February and December 1942 by Nazi Germany. Earth, do not cover my blood. Let there be no resting place for my outcry." Job 16:18. In June 1943, the Nazis obliterated all traces of the camp. The campsite was largely ignored over the following years, and it wasn't until 1997 to 1999 that an archaeological excavation took place. The current memorial site opened in 2004. As we enter the camp, the Memorial Museum will be to our right. The representation of the tube can be seen straight ahead. Let's take a closer look by moving forward to where those two yellow cones are. Now we are at the entrance of the tube. From this picture, you can't really get an idea of how long the tube is or how high the walls get. On the next slide, we will walk through this passageway. The time it takes for us to walk to the other end will give you an idea how long it is. The walls on either side start about knee-high. As you walk down the path, you will see how high they get. This part of the memorial is supposed to represent the tube victims walked down, leading to the gas chambers. How the memorial was designed, with the walls getting taller and taller as you reach the end, almost gives you a sense of the world closing in. Although the pathway is level, some people feel it's not the walls that are getting taller, but you that are descending deeper into the earth in relation to the surrounding terrain. One of the thoughtful features about the design of this memorial is that it allows you to experience it in your own way. It took us 2 minutes and 52 seconds to walk from one end to the other. This is a view looking back to the entrance of the tube. Additional memorials are found at the end of the tube, including a wall of over 1,200 first names. The names are meant to be generic and reflect how family names were lost to future generations. The tube we just walked down runs along here. One can either walk back through the tube to exit, or can go up a flight of stairs to the left or right. From this vantage point, you can see how vast the site is. The landscape is covered with slag and gives the appearance of ashes. The slag sits atop 33 mass graves identified during excavation. A border surrounds the memorial, which includes the names of the cities and towns that Jews were deported to Belzec from. Another view of the vastness of Belzec. The memorial extends all the way to the tree line seen in the distance. The Memorial Museum can be seen in the distance. In the foreground is the ramp monument, which is composed of steel train tracks, wood, and stone. On the wall behind it is a poem, which reads, "Here in this carload, I, Eve, with my son Abel. If you see my older boy Cain, the son of man, tell him that I..." The monument's symbolism is designed to be interpreted by the observer. Some feel it resembles a cattle car or boxcar. Some feel it resembles train tracks that have been ripped up and stacked. What does it make you feel? Inside the museum is a model of the gas chamber and its 6 rooms. A Star of David can be seen above the entry door. This sign is on display in the museum and was once located in the undressing barrack. It reads, "Attention, undress completely. You will leave all of the items brought with you in the designated area, with the exception of currency, valuables, documents, and shoes. You ought to keep currency, valuables, and documents with you until their collection at the designated window. Do not let them out of your hands. Shoes should be tied in pairs and deposited in the designated area. You will approach bathing and inhalation completely undressed." Very few artifacts were found at Belzec, but they can be found on display in the museum. As you enter the museum, you are greeted with photographs of some of the men, women, and children who were murdered at Belzec. Train tracks just outside of the Belzec camp act as a constant reminder of the thousands of lives that were so senselessly taken.